Yo, what's up guys? Welcome to Build Your Own Precon. So today, we're going to be making a very budget-friendly deck. We're going to go for precon budget, so $45, and I'm going to give you a base list, and you fill it in however you wish. So, market value, this deck's going for about $41.81. That's about $3 you can build in, or you can remove cards to build the deck how you want. So, borrow Wurmspeaker is the deck for today. So, 2 green, it's a 3/3. Worms you control have +2/+2 in trample, and then you can pay 7 and a green to create a 4/4 worm, costs X less to activate, where X is the greatest power among worms you control. So, this is a mono green, it's a big stompy deck. Timmy's, this for you. So, starting off, Planeswalker, we're going with Garruk Primal Hunter. I think his draw ability is really good, because your creatures are going to be big, and I think I just kind of put him in with worms are on theme. He's going to create a whole bunch of worms. His worms will be 8/8 tramplers, and that's definitely going to finish off the game. Bottom end, though, Elvish Mystic, Llanowar Elves are going to be your mana dorks. Teething Wurmlet is the cheapest worm there is. So you don't really have that many artifacts. However, it's just kind of like a 3/3 trample for 1, so it's pretty good. Universal Automaton is going to count as a worm. Boneyard Wurm is equal to the number of creature cards in your graveyard. Theoretically, there'll be creature cards. It's kind of just a throw-in because it's a worm. There really aren't that many good worms, per se. Elvish Visionary is a card draw. You got Gyre Sage to add mana. Heart Warden, which is a mana dork and also can be sacrificed to draw a card. Humble Naturalist, Ilysian Caryatid, Incubation Druid are all going to be helping you ramp because worms are big and you're going to need a lot of mana. Masked Vandal is going to be removal for artifacts and enchantments. Viridian Emissary is going to be ramp. Werebear is ramp. Whisper of the Wilds is ramp. Woodland Changeling is going to be filling in as a worm. Abzan Beastmaster, if you control the greatest toughness or tied for the greatest toughness creature at your upkeep, you draw a card. This is going to help because you're going to have big creatures and drawing cards is good. Gwenna Eyes of Gaia is going to be an interesting piece. For whatever reason, a Brothers War foil promo is only $240. I'm assuming it's because of Pringling, but so you can add 2 mana in any combination of colors, only spend it on creature spells or activated abilities of creatures. Whenever you cast a creature spell with power 5 or greater, put a +1/+1 counter on it and untap it. So your worms are going to be really big, and then this could theoretically help you chain out worms. She's just a good dork to begin with. Owlbear Shepherd is going to help you draw cards during your end step, because you're going to have total power 8 or greater. Worms are huge. Realm Walker will count as a worm and lets you cast worms from the top of your library. Reclamation Sage is removal. Sacellum Godspeaker, you reveal any number of creatures with power 5 or greater from your hand, and add green to your mana pool for each card revealed this way. So if you got like 3 worms in your hand, that's 3 mana. It's going to help you cast one of them on that turn. Chameleon Changeling is going to fill in as a worm. Gamekeeper is going to reveal until you find a creature card and put it onto the battlefield. Once it dies, which theoretically is a worm. Goreclaw is going to help the worms cost less. Starting with like the top end worms, Dirtcowl Wurm. So it's 4 and a green, and whenever an opponent plays a land, you put a +1/+1 counter on it. So it's going to get big. It says it's a 3/4, but with the commander, it's more of a 5/6 trample. So it's pretty good. Elvish Aberration is going to help you forest cycle, and it can be ramp. Wurmcoil Engine is very big, so it's going to be an 8/8 trample, death touch, lifelink, and then when it dies, it creates 2 5/5s with death touch, trample, and lifelink trample. So it's going to be a huge threat in this deck, and you're going to have ways to make it cost less. Elderscale Wurm is pretty big. When it enters the battlefield, if your life total is less than 7, your life total becomes 7. And as long as you have 7 or more life, damage that would reduce your life total to less than 7 reduces it to 7 instead. So you can't die from life damage or like taking damage while it's out. So it's going to be a pretty big threat. Emergent Woodwurm. So whenever it attacks, look at the top X cards of your library where X is its power. So 6 because of our commander, and put a mana card or put a permanent with mana value 6 or less from among them onto the battlefield. So we have a lot of those. That's like the rest of the creature base. And then it also has backup, which when it enters, put 3+3+1 counters on target creature. And if that ugh. So you put 3+1+1 counters on a creature, and it gains the ability till end of turn. So you can put it on your other worms, whatever. Engulfing Slagwurm is just a big worm. Panglacial Wurm is a worm, and you can play it from your library if you're searching your library. There's a whole bunch of effects to search out lands. So if you happen to have 7 lands out and you're searching for another one, well, you can just cast Panglacial Wurm. Thanks to the commander, it's an 11/7 with trample. Penumbra Wurm is just a worm, but once it dies, it more or less creates a copy of itself. So that's pretty good. Bookworm can be put from your graveyard into your library if you need a threat. However, you still have to draw into it then. Soul Ring is the sole artifact because I just prefer creature ramp in green decks. Boon of Boseiju will help it get big. Bull Strength can help them get bigger. Lull can prevent combat damage if you need to stall out the game. You can also cycle it for a draw. Naturalize is removal. Return to Nature is removal. Wilt is removal. Beast Within is removal. Hunter's Insight. So you choose a creature you control. When that creature deals combat damage to a player or planeswalker this turn, draw them any cards. Your worms are going to be big. This is going to help you, like, refill your hand, because that's going to be a priority. Kahani Ambush counts as a land because it's in MDFC, and it's also going to let your worms fight, so it can help remove other threats. You Happen on a Glade is going to help you get cards back from your graveyard, or it can put 2 lands into your hand. Either way, it does search your library too, so if you want to cast that one worm from your library, you can go ahead. Return of the Wurmspeaker will help pump your non-humans or help you refill your hand. Scale up, so you can cast this, make Baru a worm. He'll still have his abilities, so he'll be an 8/6 trample. So that's just an option. Not bad for 1 mana. Explore is going to help you ramp out and draw. Life's Legacy is draw. Rampant Growth is ramp. Celebrate the Harvest is ramp. I don't know if a lot of people have seen this one, but you search your library for up to X basics, where X is the number of different powers among creatures you control, and put them onto the battlefield tapped. So it's 1 more mana than Cultivate, and in this deck it's probably going to be getting like 4 or 5 lands, so I think it's just generally better. Harmonizes draw. Healing Technique will help you get your worms back from the graveyard, and you gain life equal to the card's mana value, so most worms are like 6 or greater. So that's going to be like 6 mana, 7 mana, you gain 6/7 life, and you can demonstrate it to do it twice. Migration Path is ramp. It's kind of just Cultivate, but both go onto the battlefield, and then you can also cycle it to draw. Monstrous Onslaught is going to help remove different creatures on the battlefield. It was partially just budget removal. Overcome is going to help you, like, trample over your opponents. It's going to get your board really big, whatever. Soul's Majesty is draw, and Traverse the Outlands is a whole hell of a lot of ramp. You got Wild Growth as just another ramp piece. Colossal Majesty and Triumph of Ferocity are going to help you draw cards, because that's the one part where green usually fails, is drawing. So land-wise, we're playing Cryptic Caves because it can be used to draw. 33 Forests because, yeah. Gingerbread Cabin because you're going to have enough forests, and that food could go somewhere. I don't know. Mosswort Bridge because you're going to have creatures with total power 10 or greater, and then you could hide away another worm, so it's usually going to be good. And then Slippery Karst can just be cycled. So in general, the deck has some promise. It can go wide, it can go tall with worms. I think something like Maskwood Nexus would be a good pickup, so that all of your creatures are worms, but that feels like cheating. So you got about $3 to work around. You can cut what you want. Let me know. How are you building this? What's your plan? Tell me in the comments.